siach haaretz, and Chazal say that those are the trees that are talking. What are they praying for? They're praying for this world, for rain, but literally, I mean, we know in the trees have some sort of sentience, some sort of life communication force. And the scientists show that in the root systems of the trees, they communicate. They exchange carbon with each other. They exchange messages. If a blight or a disease is coming towards the forest, they send warnings to the neighbors. Not only the same species, they've proven that the birch and the cedars, and they talk to each other in a sense, not in words, but they have exchange through their root systems. I think spiritually it's a very, very deep message for us that we also have common roots, all of life. You know, the Rambam says that the whole universe is basically one biological entity. He says Sa'id, like he uses, Billy or Bobby, but like in Arabic, Sa'id has many cells and limbs, and the world also has different cells and limbs, and it's all really one. Like now in science they call it the Gaia hypothesis, right? James Lovelock and some others. So there's something, a unified force in everything we believe, I guess, and it's sort of, aside from quantum physics, it's seen, at least with the trees and their siach, their conversation with each other and with all of the natural systems, which is essentially, according to the Kitab HaKabbalah, the natural systems is Kisei HaKavod. Kisei HaKavod of Hashem is biology, chemistry, physics. That's the throne of glory of divinity in this world. And so it's a very physical day. We're eating the fruits, but it's also a lot of spiritual wisdom in terms of also we're taking, we're eating, enjoying. But the lesson is also that trees are giving. So what do we do with this energy, this new energy that's coming up, this faith, this Hasidim say that it's the holiday of faith, because we don't see what's going on underneath the tree, the life coming. So it's an act of faith. To plant is an act of faith. To see something that looks wintry and dead, and celebrate already eating the fruit that's going to be very, very special.
I remember that there's like a minhag to daven for an etrog.
Yeah, the minhag to daven for the etrog now.
So big.
Yeah. Etrog, the heart, also connected to Emunah. Minhag daven for etrog. There's a lot of segulas for this day for parnasa, for shalom, Ilan. The Ilan is the tzaddik, connection with the tzaddik. Rabbi Natan's birthday, happy birthday to Rabbi Natan, the main student of Rabbi Nachman. It's his birthday.
It's my brother's birthday too.
It's your birthday? Mazel tov. Well, you have to bless us, give us a blessing. It's in the Jewish system, you have the power to bless. It's not, usually we give birthday, in the world,
To bless their birthday
we bless the birthday person. Yeah. Here it's like if the cosmic synergy is the way it was when you were born, there's something that you have the power to share. So whether it's with words or from your heart, please bless us. And Ilan Gematria 91, which is the same Gematria as Ma'achal or Malach,
Amen.
Kisei, Amen, Yud Kevav Ke and Aleph Daled Nun Yud, transcendent and the immanent together. So it's Rosh Hashanah for a lot of unifying aspects. Maybe more tomorrow. If anybody wants to join us, we're going to be doing a picnic to Shvat Seder in the Vadi, where the Shikshuk is, on Fridays, by the figure 8, just north of there, and tomorrow 2:15, music and Kinderlach. So, yeah, it should be nice. All right, so we'll go back to our stuff. Hopefully we'll find some connections. I think we might. I haven't, nothing planned just yet, but we'll see. So we're doing Reish Nun. It's really talking about now Friday morning. So if we open the Mishnah Brura, the Shulchan Aruch. I think that's what most of us have. Reish Nun. If you don't have it, look, some of the sources that I sent were also, I gave a shiur on Hanukkah time about mitzvah bo yoter b'mishlucho or hidor mitzvah, what takes place. Mitzvah bo yoter b'mishlucho, it's better if a person do the mitzvah yourself, or hidor mitzvah, what takes place, what takes precedence. And so in this packet, there's also this page from Reish Nun. So if anybody, we have enough for everybody today, certainly. And the Gemara and Kiddushin's in here, and some other things are in here. Yeah. Yeah. What?
No, we learned Kiddushin together.
The Gemara. So it's also in here. Okay. So Hachanat Hasu'udot l'Shabbat. We're talking about Friday morning. Did you read the Noam Elimelech I sent? The Noam Elimelech from B'Shalach. It was topical for last week's parsha. He says, whoever wakes up on Friday, the amount you feel enthusiasm for Shabbat is an indicator of how your week went and how much of your week was lishma, and or you were serving yourself or you were serving the Creator. Right? There was a beautiful piece in Noam Elimelech on about the man and Shabbat, and so he says that on Friday morning is an indicator. You have a sense of where you're at spiritually from the linkage between the 6 days and the 7th, right? We said in the beginning that Yom Rishon is Chesed, Gvura. So Friday is Yisod to Malchut. We always want to connect Yisod and Malchut. So there's an intimate connection between Friday and Shabbat. You're already really, really feeling Shabbat. We said already, for Shabbat Mincha, you're already feeling the next Shabbat, and every day you can feel Shabbat. And then Wednesday, certainly, L'chun Ra'anana, we start saying Shabbat Shalom. And then Friday, you really, really feel it. It's potentially really, really felt. Or it could be like, oh, Shabbos is coming. I'm not ready, like what's it going to be. Especially the early Shabbatot. Some of the poskim say, Chacham inav b'rosho, a wise person, keep your eyes in your head and plan ahead so that you're not freaking out at the last minute, like most of us are. But freaking out last minute, we saw, is actually a halacha to do some, even if you're finished everything, do something in the last half hour. Is brought down that's also a halacha to prepare for Shabbat, right before Shabbat also. So if, next time you're frazzled half an hour before Shabbat trying to get everything ready, you're keeping a diktuk, the din, they're keeping halacha really, really well. So Shulchan Aruch starts, and we'll keep the tour open right next to it. Shulchan Aruch starts, Yashkim baboker b'yom shishi la'achin tzorchei Shabbat. We wake up early. You remember where else you saw the lashon of hashkama?
There's the first simon in
Avraham Avinu.
Avraham Avinu.
And there's Bilam.
And right? Bilam also, Vayashkem. So Vayashkem is like an enthusiastic wake up, like seize the day wake up, a wake up of getting up early with excitement and passion for what you're about to do. There's a lot of stuff on that, but I think so. Yashkim baboker b'yom shishi lachin tzorchei Shabbat. Okay, so let's do the first thing. The Mishnah Berurah will tell us. Not the Mishnah Berurah, sorry. The Beit Yosef, you saw. The Beit Yosef, Yashkim Baboker, he brings it from the Shibbolei Aleket, one of the Ashkenazi Rishonim, and he says that Amar Rav Chisda Leolam, we read this Gemara already the first day, right? Remember I said Kufi Zayin to Kufi Tet and Shabbat. Amar Rav Chisda, the master of Chesed, says, Leolam Yashkim Adam להוצאות שבת, שנאמר, והיה ביום השישי והכינו את אשר יביאו, והכינו למחר. The manna came down on Friday, and we had this commandment to go out Friday early and pick it up. So the Haya indicates two things. One, it indicates do it quickly. Another, it indicates, and this is brought down in Ben Ish Chai, to do it b'simcha. right? Vayihi is always language of tsar, Vayihi b'mei Achashverosh, and V'haya is language of simcha. So the Ben Ish Chai says, based on this, it's that we have essentially a biblical hint to do all the preparations with a lot of joy. והכינו את אשר הביאו למחר, and the Tanchuma says, מניין שכל המוציא יציאות בשבת מצווה שישכים ויוציא משחרית, שנאמר והיה ביום השישי ודרשו חכמים, אין והיה אלא מיד. Okay? This is, we have to right away on Friday get up early. So the post can bring down what happens, if, what do you usually do in the morning before you go shopping?
Daven.
Usually people, if you're observant, you're gonna daven. What happens if you're not there? There's not going to be any fish at the fresh fish place. If you by the time you daven, you're allowed to shop first. You're allowed to shop first, only if what you need is not going to be there after. Also, if you have regular learning that is a set seder, like say you learn for 10 minutes after davening or half an hour, you're allowed to take part in. But open-ended learning, we don't. You have other things to take care of right now. Yashkim, okay? So this is brought down.
What about the Shulchan Aruch Harav that said that if you normally daven with a minyan, then you shouldn't be mafresh min hatzibur for tefillah?
Right. You should not be mafresh from the tzibur for Shabbos preparation unless you're going to miss out on your Shabbos preparation and nobody else to do it for you. Okay. Technically, you could always find somebody, especially now WhatsApp. You say, okay,
right.
Who's shopping for fish? I'm running a little bit late. Is somebody,
No, if everyone's at the market buying fish, then they're not the minions. So.
Well, right. It's true. We're assuming you have multiple things. Okay, so that's getting up early. Ve'afilu yesh lo kama avadim l'shamsho, even if you have many servants to serve you, yishtadel la'achin ba'atzmo shum davar letzorchei Shabbat kidei lechabdo. You should try and prepare yourself something of the Shabbat preparation.
You saw the Yosef?
Yeah. So no, that was the Shulchan Aruch. That's Shulchan Aruch. Here also the Torah says yesh lo kama avadim l'shamsho yishtadel be'atzmo la'achin shum davar letzorchei Shabbat kidei lechabdo. The Rambam, though, you saw the Rambam I
He said a
said?
different lesson, right?
It says chayav. The Rambam says chayav. You have to do something yourself. These guys, the Torah Shulchan Aruch are saying yishtadel. It's not a complete obligation, but it's a good thing. Where does that come from? We'll see in a second with the other sources. So maybe let's go a little bit deeper into this thing. Mitzvah bo yoter mi bishlucho, and both the Shulchan Torah and Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam bring examples from that long Gemara we learned about which of the Amoraim did different preparations, right? This one salted the fish, this one chopped the wood, this one chopped the vegetables, remember? And there's a lot of pnimiut there. I'd like to get to that in a little bit. But first of all, why does he say chayav and here it says lishtadel? Is it a mitzvah? The Netziv really is the only one who says that mitzvah boy yoter mi b'shulcho is a deoraita. That it's mamash but most of the people say it's not a deoraita. But Rambam says chayav. Why does it say chayav? And also, if you notice carefully, if you look carefully, you see that the examples of the Amoraim that they each chose were different. They each chose. The Rambam chose a couple of examples from the list, and the Shulchan Aruch chose a couple of examples from the list. So that's I think something we'll look at for just a few minutes. I don't want to do a super deep dive, but we'll do that. Unless you want to do the Gemara of all those guys, what they were doing. What's the first one? The first one in the Gemara was If he has a head, an animal head for Shabbat, he singed it or cleaned the hairs off or burnt it and prepared the head.
How you like put it on a spit?
Yeah, there's different opinions
Oh,
whether
okay,
you
so-
whether you put it on a spit or you singe the hairs off so that's nicer when you put it on the table. you want to
Give it a shake.
no, but right away, if you have a sense of what the inner dimension of Torah is about, then you hear the word head, and you're okay. So he's talking about getting up to the highest level, whether it's in Kabbalah it would be Keter or just the source, something very elevated, right? And the ones who are chopping wood. There was one Amora would sit on his chair and blow the fire, get the fire going. And so the Kabbalim say that that's talking about the fires of cleansing of Gehenom, getting it ready because we're all pure. There's no Gehenom on Shabbat, right? There's no hell on Shabbat. Hell is closed down on Shabbat, purgatory, to be more precise. It doesn't exist on Shabbat. So to prepare the rectifications before Shabbat, he was dealing with the fire. And the other one was chopping wood into smaller pieces. There's getting the wicks ready, unifying the strings, carrying on the shoulders, chesed gvura, taking in and out, kalim for Shabbat. There's a lot of learning. I thought about photocopying, but if anybody wants to learn this issue in depth, Rav Sasson ben Mordechai, who was in the mid-1800s in Baghdad, he was not only the chazan of the shul, the main shul of Baghdad, he also was in charge of kiddushin and ketubot, and he was a paitan, and he was his pen is very elegant. I have his book on PDF. I don't have it in print, but. So he has a book. One of his books is Devar Be'ito, and it's mostly about Shabbat and spiritual, mystical things. And he's very readable. So if anybody wants, I can photocopy these 2 pages of all these different things. But what's going on here is something really, really important to the preparation for Shabbat. Why did they each choose different things?
It was right there in the mission speak to them.
Go
It
ahead,
was
go
right
ahead.
there in Nakuda.
Right, everybody has to find their thing. What excites me about getting ready for Shabbat? Who wants to sweep? You're cleaning the floor. The floor is the base of the family. Who's getting the candles ready? The Ben Ish Chai writes, my father used to always put mitukim, sweets, on the table, erev Shabbat. That was his thing. So I thought that was really sweet. But basically you have to find your personal thing to contribute to Shabbat. And it seems from the Shulchan Aruch Harav that you should do everything as much as you can, like not just one thing. You can do as much as you can to help out on Shabbat. I didn't bring it because I thought maybe your wives would kill me, but the Aruch HaShulchan, who was around the same time as Mishnah Berurah 110 years ago or so, he says that Ishto ki gufo, so if she's doing it, it's like you're doing it, so you don't need to worry too much.
So she's doing the dishes.
And whatever she's doing, it's like you're doing it. She's cleaning up, you're cleaning up, right?
Amazing.
I didn't want to send it. I thought it would get to the women and to get in trouble. All right. So what's the source of all this? That you're supposed to do it yourself. So here, if you want to look at in this package, the Gemara Kiddushin. I don't think we really need to go inside, but if anybody wants to, it's in here in this package. You want to see
Actually,
it?
no, I had a practical question about that because it's come up before. There's like the struggling and like we've been talking about like getting something, even a small thing like buying something after like on Friday morning. But there's times when like it's just like there's too much going on. There's one car, whatever it is, and your wife is at the store. I mean there is a thing, right? Like
Aruch HaShulchan, Ishto ki gufo. Ishto ki gufo. Aruch HaShulchan. He's great. Some people say Aruch HaShulchan is proper diktuk. Everybody says Aruch HaShulchan, but Michal of Novardok. He was the Mishnah Berurah was the big Rosh Yeshiva, the Chavetayim. He wasn't necessarily a city posek. He was the Rosh Yeshiva. He was the big city posek of the Lithuanian Jews, and he really he brings the halacha all the way through from the sources down to the Rishonim. He sort of summarizes it. My father said his best rebbe for learning smicha was the Aruch HaShulchan of all his rebbes. So I took his advice, and I learned it a lot over the years. And he's usually quite lenient, as a city rav would be. He knows the people, and he brings a lot of the practical minhagim, even some things that most people would say are asur. He says, "Lo na'agu kacha," so this was not the custom, so obviously there's a good reason for it not to be the custom. Okay? So let's look at the Gemara in Kiddushin, Mem Aleph. Ha'ish mekadesh bo uvishlucho. A person can betroth a woman, either himself or with a shaliach, a messenger. And the Gemara says, Rav Yosef, mitzvah bo yoter mi bishlucho. Right? Mitzvah bo yoter mi bishlucho. This is the source for mitzvah bishlucho. First of all, the Baal Shem Tov says, Ha'ish, Ribono Shel Olam. Mekadesh connects with us, sanctifies us, either in a state of direct shefa, bo, or through intermediaries when we're not consciously aware of the kindness we're being given from Hashem and the relationship with Hashem. Either it's bo, this is Baal Shem Tov, brought by the Tolda. Either it's a geula, a redemptive consciousness, is you realize bo, that you're being loved all the time, you're being given all these things. The coffee is a gift for not from my mother in Costa Rica, whatever, but thank you, my mother in Costa Rica, and the farmer and the farmer's mama, and everything else that went into this coffee. But you can live with it as if it came to me through messengers, or I can go to the source. And mitzvah, kiddushin, marriage, and Shabbat are the two things that's brought down. That mitzvah bo yoter mi bishlucho. That's when you have to have direct connection. Marriage. You could do it through an intermediary. Say he could say on behalf of Schlepper, he was too busy at this. I don't know, at the stock market to come and put the ring on you. So he says I'm his agent, right? The other thing is that both of those things involve a lot of oneg, Shabbat and marriage, and so nobody can have that oneg for me. The guy who's giving my girlfriend, soon to be wife, a ring, can't have the same emotional experience that I would have by giving it, right?
What do you mean by only those two things?
So it's brought down that in some of the sources we saw that those are the two areas that this din mitzvah bo yoter mi bishlucho is brought down. There are some who say every mitzvah needs to be done, but these are the two areas where in Hilchot Shabbat and Hilchot Kiddushin it's brought down explicitly. And some rabbis say that we extrapolate from that to anything that you could possibly do yourself, you should do, right? So let's look at the Rashi here, in the inside of the page. Dechi asik gufo b'mitzvot mikabel schar tvei. When you're occupied with doing the mitzvah, you receive more reward. So it sounds from Rashi that it's like good advice. Yishtadel, right? The language we saw in the Shulchan Aruch and the Torah, yishtadel. Right, you get more reward. It's more rewarding to do it yourself. So it's not as okay.
But I have a question.
Sure.
Right, mitzvah bo yoter mi bishlucho. So isn't mitzvah like the same lashon as chayav? So like mitzvah is not yishtadel. Mitzvah is chayav, right?
Right, but here, yeah. So that might be why the Ram might be one thing, or it could be that.
We said because.
Right? It's also with that you can't. that there's a
Basically,
reason,
if you can,
there's
you're
a
not
reason
doing
you
it.
can't. You have to see her before you get married. So there's actually a problem in the action of doing it by an intermediary. So there are some of the Rishonim, and it's brought down in some of the Tshuvot, that it's not an issue of schar tvei, like Rashi says, but actually it's an issue of bizayon mitzvot, of bizuya mitzvot, of denigrating. Like, I'm too lazy to take care of sweeping on Shabbat, so I'll get somebody else to do it, right? So there's those two opinions. What is the mitzvah? Is it mitzvah just to get more segula, reward, more pleasure, more spiritual impact? Or is it that it's just we don't want to make it seem like we're too lazy, like we're dissing the mitzvahs, okay? And this is brought down, I sent to you the case, it was an interesting case. Remember a guy who's a mohel who wanted to be a sandak for his boy and wanted another mohel to do it. So he asked the Rav, is it that I have more mitzvah boy would tell me bishlucho, I should do the milah? Or can I be this, or can I let somebody else do it and be the sandak? So he says that you were allowed to do that. He gave him permission because by the fact that you want to be involved in the mitzvah, it shows that you're actually not denigrating the mitzvah. You're deeply respecting the mitzvah. You just want to have a different facet of it, right? Or for example, it's brought down in the mitzvah of ma'akeh, the obligation to have a fence around your roof. That if you hire somebody to do it, you could still say the bracha. If somebody does it for free, you can't say the bracha, right? Because if you hire somebody, it's as if you're really involved. So the question here in Shabbat that some of the poskim ask, if I hire somebody, I have a cleaning person, doing the chopping the wood and bringing in the Shabbat things and making the weights and getting it ready. It's as if I'm doing. I could say the bracha if they were building me a fence on my thing. I could say a bracha. It's my mitzvah. But here, no. So here they say that in Shabbat and in Kiddushin, it's a mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah. We have a concept of a mitzvah that's on the chefetza, on the chafetz, the object, and we have a mitzvah that's on the person to do it. And getting married and honoring Shabbat are both things that is a mitzvah baguf shelanu. We have a physical obligation to do something. Okay, we have. It's not only that it should be done. It's not I guess subjective or objective. You can frame it that way. But in traditional learning, we have gavra or chefza, right? Do I have to put on tzitzit? Or if I'm wearing a four-cornered garment, I should put tzitzit on that garment. Okay? So there's, sometimes we have both. Some mitzvahs have both, and sometimes we frame it differently, that there's, but it is brought down in many of the poskim that for Shabbat, it's a mitzvah begufo. Like the Shulchan Aruch you saw, I think, right? Talked about it being a mitzvah we have a physical obligation to do it. It's not just enough to get it done. Right?
A minute ago when you were translating, you said the word occupied
Yeah.
in doing the mitzvah.
Yeah.
Is the idea behind being occupied that you bring a sense of presence?
Yeah, sure.
Like,
Asik, yeah.
okay, so like
Absolutely.
mindfulness or presence?
Mindfulness. Yeah, absolutely. Asok is more the language of occupied. We use it also for learning Torah. We don't say, thank you for giving, blessed are you, commanding us to learn Torah, but la'asok b'divrei Torah, to be presently occupied, dwelling on it, to be focused. Yeah, nice insight. Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, I was just thinking I feel like, I haven't thought of all the mitzvahs obviously, but like every mitzvah to sin would seem to be a mitzvah on the gavra, on the person, on the physical person. Like tefillin, I can't have you put on tefillin.
Right. So that's a mitzvah begufo,
Right?
right?
Even lulav and esrog, I can't have somebody else shake lulav
Right.
and esrog. So even it's a chefetz that's happening too, but it's still my body that has to.
Right. Like there are mitzvahs that the thing needs to get done. Right?
Like stuck or things like that.
Yeah, or like
Fence on the roof.
the fence on the roof is one example, right? We have a mitzvah to build it. You have a mitzvah to build a ma'akeh. Yeah, I mean, there is brought down in some of the poskim that if you're going to do it, you should actually ask the kablan to do a little bit of action, even if you're paying for the. That's what the Rashi's thing is. Last mekabel schar tvei. You get extra credit. It's more profound if you're actually doing it. Okay.
Oh, so like cleanup?
Yeah. Okay. So this is. I don't want to get into it, but if anybody wants to keep this packet, I have a few extra. We did this on Hanukkah. What's more important, to do the mitzvah yourself, or to have it done on a timely or with better olive oil? Like if I could do it myself later on with wax, or I could tell my wife to do it with olive oil at the right time. What takes precedence? Hidur mitzvah or mitzvah bo yoter mibishlucho? So most people say Hidur mitzvah takes precedence because Hidur mitzvah is a doraita according to many people, not everybody, but even if it's Drabanan, it has a pasuk. Ze'eli v'anvehu from this last week's parsha, right, is the source for making the mitzvah more beautiful, and there's no biblical actual source for mitzvah bo yoter mibishlucho, the same level as, so that's brought down in some of the poskim as well. Or there's other cases where Zrizin Makdimin or Mitzvah Bo Yoter Mibishlucho, right? Like if we have a concept that we want to be get things done, be enthusiastic, get the mitzvah done. Should I get somebody to clean my house Friday morning 9 a.m.? I can't do it. I'm occupied. Or should I do it myself in the afternoon? So we have this sort of tension, and there's many different opinions amongst the poskim. But bottom line is that it should be done, right? So the Shulchan Aruch Harav Risa, he says bechol mitzvot. This is a concept in every mitzvah, bo yoter mibishlucho, that we should do it ourselves. Other people say many of the other poskim say no, it's especially for kiddushin and Shabbat, and we don't hear about it with other things, right? What's an example? We don't hear about it for other things. Mitzvah bo yoter mibishlucho. You saw in the Mishnah Berurah, I think he brings down. Where is it?
Bris Milah, Sasana?
No, he brought down.
Tosefet Shabbat, huh?
Yeah, he brings down that we didn't find it in Suda Brit Milah, right? Yeah, we don't find that you have to set up your meal for a Brit Milah. You're having it's a mitzvah, a Suda mitzvah. We don't find that it's a bigger mitzvah for you to set up the tables and to prepare the room than to hire somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Yeah, right. I didn't look up who's Tosefet Shabbat. Excuse me, sorry, but that's it. Okay. Look, let's learn the Mishnah Berurah right here. The Biur Halacha is the Mishnah Berurah also. It's in page number 2 of this packet, because he brings down Ishtadel. You see where the finger is pointing? Where the finger is pointing on the next page, the Mishnah Berurah. Berambam ita al din ze b'lashon chayav. Right? You saw that? The Rambam says you're chayav to do this. Even if you're an important person, it's not you're indignified for you to go to the marketplace and start dealing with shopping, and not to do housekeeping. You have to do action for Shabbat with your body, because that is your honor also. Okay? Chachamim harishonim mehen mi haya mefatel ha'etzim levashel bahen. There was those the Amoraim were cutting the wood. Mehen mi shaya mevashel or moleach basar or the fish, salting the fish. The Komarno Rebbe, probably the most sophisticated Kabbalistic of the Hasidic Rebbe's. Kabbalists of the Hasidic rabbis, in terms of the Yichudim, divine names, and he says that he brings some Yichudim some unification meditations for salting the fish, and he says it's just as high as the candle lighting. Salting the fish. Not only gematrias, also conceptually, but also the letters. If you expand the letters of the melach and dag and different names of godly names, it's not for enough. Number one, I could send it to you, but go to the mikveh first. All right.
Before salting the fish.
if you're salting the fish with his meditations, yeah. It's sort of like I don't know. It's like knowing it's different, but maybe a little bit like you have a website and there's all the code behind it. So like he's dealing with like code. What's it called? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not exactly that because he's actually doing like I don't know. Okay. Anyway, so chayav lasot dvarim kaelu, godel ptilot, making the wicks, spinning the wicks, or madlik nerot, lighting the candles, umehen mishaya yotze v'koneh dvarim she'en letzorach haShabbat, going shopping, machal mashke, food and drink, af al pi she'en darko b'kach, even if it's not your way, you should do it. V'kavana le'ezeh davar min advarim. ועיין קידושין מ"א, דקאמר שם, מצווה בו יותר מבשלוחו. ואפשר דלה, הרמב"ם גם כן, so he says, הרמב"ם גם כן, לאו חוב גמור בו. It's not a complete obligation. אלא כאין חובה משום כבוד שבת. It's like it's an obligation because it's kavod Shabbat. And kavod Shabbat is an obligation. And remember, some people say that Rambam says kavod Shabbat is doraita. Even though it seems that he says it's D'Rabbanan. The Chatam Sofer says that the Lefia Rambam, Kavod Shabbat is D'Oraita. And so he says the Rambam doesn't really mean Chayav, but that's not the case by all of the Poskim Achronim. Some say that the Rambam is saying that it is an obligation, that I think it's very high to think about it as an obligation because it means that you're already injecting Shabbat into your Friday morning, right? It's like full-on Shabbat obligation. You're extending Shabbat energy into the Friday. Yeah, I jotted down a couple of opinions. Maybe not now, but there was the first Baba Rebbe had a chassid who he was makar of him, came. And he was struggling finding new work. His old work was not financially honest, so he gave up the work. And the Rebbe, what should I do? Tell me what to do. He says, well, there's a chassid of mine in Krakow who's a businessman. He needs somebody to do his bookkeeping. Maybe you go to him and say I sent you, and maybe he'll give you a job. You could live with him, maybe even. So he went to Krakow. He says, yeah, sure. Try you out for 3 months. They wrote a contract. And part of the contract that he would come for him for every Shabbat. That was part of the meals, Shabbat food and meals were on the business owner. Friday morning, the Baba Chassid knocks on the door. He says, can I come for Shabbos, please? And he says, of course, it's in the contract. I'll keep my obligation. Next Shabbat, can I please join you for Shabbat meals? I told you, yeah, no problem. Third week, the guy yells at him, you know already, what are you bothering me for? You're welcome, it's in the contract. You came last week, the week before, you can come again. He goes, no, you don't understand. I have an obligation to prepare for Shabbat with myself. Mitzvah bo yoter bishlucho. You're my shaliach to make Shabbat preparations, but I have to do something physically to walk over here, knock on your door, to prepare my Shabbat, and there I'm like bringing down the light of Shabbat into my Friday by even just asking you. And remember, it's not only, we said this a couple weeks ago, that it's not only in action, it's also in words, to say I'm doing this for Shabbat. We told in a lot of different...
yell it, right? Look how much Shabbat!
So you could, or you could yell from the inside, or you could just, but saying it, Dibur, according to Hasidic thought, brings down upper will, the source of our desire to do something, and brings it more into reality. It brings down that high level, that just willing it and action are both important, but the verbalizing it brings connection between ratzon and maaseh.
Can I ask you a really funny question? When you're going out to get something on Friday, let's say you get used to some beautiful challahs, some pastries, whatever it is, but you know there's very likely that it's not all going to get eaten on Shabbos. But if you say the Kavod Shabbos, are you like sort of saying like, do you have to come some kind of like stipulation in mind kind of thing? Or
No,
something?
it might be, and there's it actually is. There is a roshem. We believe our words can impact physical things. You know, I don't know Schrodinger's cat stuff. Like the observer impacts.
Yeah.
So you turn that bread, even if it's going to be eaten French toast on Sunday,
Yeah.
which is a good minhag, by the way. Leftover challah. Israelis don't know this minhag. I think it's a good Canadian American, maybe Australian. Do you guys French toast?
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. It's a good thing for Sunday morning with the leftover Shabbat.
Even just toast and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. What else did I want to say about that?
We have a maple syrup hookup, right?
Yeah.
Should be free French
Maybe I have
toast. Also
Cartons,
Osha
cartons in my house.
Yeah.
Osha
Maple
is
syrup?
organic.
Okay.
Okay.
You gotta come back.
So let's get back to here. Let's get back to here. The Mishnah Berurah. Let's go to Mishnah Berurah Gimel. Lachin be'atzmo. Okay. The mitzvat kavod Shabbat mutal al kol adam. כרכתיב וקראת לשבת עונג, לקדוש השם מכובד, ומצווה בו יותר מבשלוחו, והוא הדין בכל מצוות, מצווה בו יותר מבשלוחו, ועין בבירור הלכה. כתבו הספרים, יהרהר בתשובה, you should think about תשובה, ויפשפש במעשיו בכל ערב שבת. כי שבת מקרה קלה מלכתה, וכאילו מקבל פני המלך יתברך שמו, ואין האלה לקבלו כשהוא לבוש בבילויי הסחבות של החלאת העוונות. אוקיי?
That's חייב אדם בערב שבת, like, what are we saying?
לחזור בתשובה, לחזור בתשובה.
במה מדליקים? חייב אדם למשמש בגדיו
בגדיו בשבת,
שלא
בגדיו.
ישכח ועצה.
Yeah.
So like שלא ישכח ועצה, like ערב שבת is עולם הזה, שבת is עולם
בדיוק, בדיוק. ערב שבת is עולם הזה. It's the connection between ערב שבת and Shabbat, Friday and Shabbat, is like this world and the world to come. And we're about to, every Friday, and other Hasidim say that it's Erev Yom Kippur. Erev Yom Kippur. Every Erev Shabbat is like Shabbat Shabbaton, Yom Kippur is Shabbat. So we're like totally going through a cleansing process. You're going to go to this cosmic wedding. You don't want to come in tattered clothes. You don't want to come stained. So while you're doing this preparation, you could have put this in other places, but while you're doing the preparation, and because of that, I don't know if you saw the Magen Avraham and the others that I sent, that the sweat when you're working on Shabbat is a big tikkun. It's like a cleansing. The sweat is like a mikvah itself. Some people have a custom when they're sweating or crying from spiritual fervor to put it on their forehead, because our flaws are written into our forehead and so they like wipe it off. And the Rav Tzadok Cohen of Lublin says just like that when we sweat for holiness, it's a fixing for when we sweat for the other side. So anyway, so it's a big thing to it's brought down in the poskim. If you saw the Shulchan Aruch, the Magen Avraham, the Be'er Hete, the Pitchei Tshuva, the guys on the side around the Shulchan Aruch, bring it from the Arizal, that it's a big thing to sweat for while you're working for Shabbat, and L'chzor b'tshuva, to think about yourself, to come in clean and honest into Shabbat. V'yesh lefanot kurei hakavish shekorin shpin webs, spider webs, me'abayit b'erev Shabbat, okay? וכל שכן שצריך לכבד הבית מהאבק והעפר מבעוד יום, you should certainly clean from dust and dirt. So what's the thing with the spider webs? The spider webs, okay, so first of all, shmamit is the word in Tanakh for spider webs, and it's brought down in a few of the books that it's connected to the Samach Mem, the angelic power of the other side, and his wife, who we don't really mention her name, I don't, but there's a feminist magazine by that same name, and Rabbi Nachman says in Sichot Haran, he says that the spider web indicates the final battle of the warrior, because a warrior can win every battle, and then right at the end there's something that's like really intricate, there's something that might be a little bit scary, and it's like all you gotta do is knock it down and it's gone. All you gotta do is knock it down and it's gone. But people get scared. People get scared of that final battle. He says here, again, you want to see it, it's in Reish Lamed Bet. Gibor Echad Chagar Motnav Likbosh Choma Chazaka, a great warrior, went out to conquer a big wall. V'achar kach Shabbat Lashar, he's doing everything, he's finished the battle. The Arug Alashar Matve Mikure Kavish, closing the gate. וכי יש שטות מזה שיהיה חוזר ממלחמתו מחמת הסתימה של קורא כביש. We've gotten so far, we shopped, we cleaned, we did all the heavy lifting for Shabbos. One more little thing and we're done. We're like over the hump. It was brought down the Chacham Reb Chaim Pelagi, his wife's grandfather wrote an important book on Chaim Pelagi, wrote that it should be done by the 5th hour based on the Arizal, not even before Chatzot, because that's really the beginning of the light of Shabbat. So that's like get rid of your spider webs in the morning. It's true. There's Rabbi Nachman, the famous story Rabbi Nachman of the spider and the fly, in the Rabbi Nachman stories. I really highly recommend reading it. Basically, I'm not going to get the whole story, but I recommend reading it. But there's this spider chasing the fly, and the can't get him every time the pages of the book turn. So Rav Aryeh Kaplan, in his commentary on Siprei Masiot, he says, what does the spider represent? He says the spider represents first of all the concept of evil trying to swallow up the good. Okay, and it talks about Edom, like the final exile. The spider is Edom. It talks about hate, that because people really, really hate spiders. Some people like them, but a lot of kids and people find spiders to be really intimidating, and it represents Amalek in a couple of the Mishnayot, in Midrashim, Bereshit Rabbah. Spider represents Amalek. Amalek is doubt. Is that spider poisonous? Oh, look at it. The spider also, Rashi notes that the spider, Shemamit, it also denotes Sam Mavet, poison, lethal poison. So here we have a few things about spider from Rabbi Nachman. Get rid of the spider webs on Friday. It's a good custom. And kids might thank you for it. It's not a very kept custom. I think a lot of people,
especially in areas with mosquitoes where spiders are.
Yeah, spiders help you get rid of your mosquitoes, but
So if you do it once, it's good for like a month or two. Usually.
yeah. But to check, do I have one last thing that's a barrier blocking my way? Do I have one more thing? I want to get into Shabbat and holiness, but there might be something, and it might get intimidated, really intimidating. Like I can't get through this one more barrier, but just it's gone.
Is the idea of the spiderweb being that type of barrier based off of the story with
The King David, the famous story with King David, yeah.
That's the idea there.
Then Rav Chaim Pelagi also says, if you ever come across a spider and you want him to stop moving, you say the word Shabbat, and the spider stands still. And he says, "Baduk u'minuseh." I tried it and it works.
For him.
For him, I guess he's not. So I don't know what he's thinking when he says Shabbat, but
He's got the salted fish thing first.
but you know, I thought that was a great thing when I came across that. Yeah. So he has a book, Chaim Pelagi. It's a book called Kaf HaChaim. It's not this another Kaf HaChaim, which is like a Mishnah Berurah, Sephardic Mishnah Berurah by Rav Yaakov Sofer. Usually, when you see Kaf He Chet, it means Kaf HaChaim of Rav Yaakov Sofer in the Sephardi Sfarim as a Sephardi Achron. But Rav Chaim Pelagi also wrote a book, Kaf HaChaim, where he brings it's like halacha and Kabbalah mixed together. I'm really grateful to him because one of the things he says, the Arizal says to do the mikvah on Shabbat in the afternoon, but he says if you already did Shnai Mikra V'Echad Targum in the morning, you can go to the mikvah in the morning before Chatzot. And I learned that from him. I later on saw it in other teachers of the Arizal, conveyors of the Arizal, but I was happy to see that from Rav Chaim Pelagi that sometimes you want to, I don't know. Anyway. Depends on the mikvah. You might want to get there before Chatzot, so if you've read the parsha twice with commentary, Rashi or Onkelos, you have a free pass to go early. I like that one. How are we doing, guys, with time? Okay, we got a little more time. All right, good. So let's continue in the Sif, or V'yeshem Korevish. V'zeh hakol bichlal kavod Shabbat. All this is in the realm of honoring Shabbat. V'yidmeh b'da'ato ki'ilu yavo elav l'tachsen melech basar v'dam kama mechabed habayit u'metzia mitot. Imagine if you're having a king coming to visit your house. Forget about a king. Some important dude coming to visit your house. How much would you straighten up the house for that king? And the Shabbat queen or king. Rambam we call Shabbat the Melech. We call it Shabbat the Malkah, but Rambam calls it Shabbat Melech. Whether it's king or queen, it's a nurturer. I always used to be turned off by the concept of king, Melech HaOlam. But when you learn a little bit of the inner dimension of Torah, you realize that the king's whole purpose is to nurture the community, the nation, to give, to provide, to protect. So it's actually a very motherly, it's like we think of king as an old man on the throne, fierce, but it's actually like a giver, of a protector, a nurturer. Malchut is usually defined as the Shekhinah, the feminine divine presence in this world. So whether you're king or queen, whatever it is, great protecting ruler, giver of all life, coming to visit our house, we should clean the house a little bit. Making the beds, matzia hamitot, it's brought down to make a bed for Shabbat. Some people, it's a nice custom to put a white blanket or sheet, a different one than you would normally have on your bed. I think it's a nice custom for a variety of reasons, but honoring also Shabbat in the bedroom is part of the preparation of Shabbat on Friday. Okay, so let's continue a little bit longer. Right? What do we say? And we're back in the Shulchan Aruch language now. Ki Rav Chizda ya mechatech hayerek, dak, chopping the vegetables thin. Yerek is this is where we're connecting to Tu B'Shvat. Yerek is the domain of Tzomeach. We have the inanimate, vegetative, animal, and human, right? The domain Tzomeach, Chai, Midaber, representing 4 levels. And Rav Chizda was dealing with the Yerek level, chopping the vegetable thin, allowing, in the Kabbalistic works it says that Rav Chizda was allowing, we have Asiyah, Yitzirah, Bria, and Atzilut, the four worlds, realms. Sometimes it's used, defined as physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. Or, okay. But for example, there's many Kabbalists for Tu B'Shvat Seder will do four worlds, four cups, right? Some will do with klipot first, fruit with peel, representing the physical world, and then fruit with a pit. That's, you can eat the outside, but the inside you reject, or throw out, or can plant. And then the third one would be you eat the entire fruit, and the fourth one would be a mizonot, something with wheat that's more elevated. I just want to note that is brought down in some of the Kabbalistic books, but if you're having a Tu B'Shvat Seder and all the food are on your plate, most people say you would start with the 7 species before you would get to the orange or pecans. But if you follow the Rambam says you go with what your heart desires first. And so, and it's brought down that you shouldn't get angry with somebody else. No, you're not doing it right. You chose the wrong fruit to eat, because if somebody's heart desires something, you don't want to interfere with that. I like that Rambam. And so if you're going to do that Kabbalistic Tu B'Shvat Seder with the 4 cups, the red with white, the white with a little red, or the all white, the 4 worlds, and the 4 kinds of fruits, you should bring only a tray of those kind of fruit with peels first. If you want to be precise, according to everybody, you want to be get the code right and behind the website. You want to bring just those fruits. Rimon has, Rimon has a bit. Dates and olives have a seed, and the grapes you eat whole. So those are the Shivat HaMinim. You can bring them out with all the other things, and you start with Shivat HaMinim. But okay, all right. Let's continue. That's Yerek Dak. Rabbi Yosef hayu mevakin etzim. Rabbi Zer haya madlik ha'esh. Rav Nachman haya metaken habayit. He would fix the house. In other words, clean the house. Machnis kelim atzrichim l'Shabbat u'mefanek le'achol. Umehem yilmad kol adam v'lo yomar lo efgom b'chvodi. We should learn from these great sages from the Amoraim, the authors of the Gemara, that we shouldn't worry about our own honor. V'yesh l'hashchiz hasakin be'erev Shabbat. We should sharpen the knife erev Shabbat. Ki zeu michvod Shabbat shemechin atzmo la'achila. If you saw the Beit Yosef and the others, Beit Yosef on the tour, it brings down that that's actually hinted at in the Midrashim, that the word et is connected to knife, sharp thing, and when v'achinu et asher, right, and it means to sharpen the knife. So what's the story of sharpening the knife? By the way, some say that erev Shabbat, when you eat bread erev Shabbat, you should use your hands and not a knife, so you remember to sharpen the knife. There's also spiritual reasons, but sharpen the knife erev Shabbat is a segula for parnasa, for shalom bayit, getting rid of any pgam. A knife, parnasa, it cuts, so all those things. It's not brought in the Shulchan Aruch, only in the Ramah, and some people say that since today our knives are usually sharpened well enough without it, it's not a complete obligation in today's world. Your knives are almost every knife today is made in such a way that it's not going to not be able to cut your food. But it is also some people have that custom to sharpen the knives before Shabbat. It's brought down in some of the tshuvas to not be the first after you sharpen the knife to cut something with it, just so that the Shabbat one is not the first cut, because it can enhance the sharpening, and it's not brought in many of them.
Makim Patish?
Yeah, Makim Patish. It's brought down in some of the tshuvas.
So for the knives that we normally use today that are already sharpened, is there a way that we could do Makayim in some way? Pretend like you're sharpening?
No, just take a stone and each side,
A nice
You ever see a
with
knife?
the
You-
knife.
you-
I do. I know. I do. But we were saying that a lot of the bread knives are
serrated, so you don't want to do it like
sharpen,
that.
right?
Okay, so you rub it on the side, but it's a powerful thing. It's a very powerful, and I have some more stuff about that. But I think we should probably call it a night.
So,
This guy called the knife doctor. He'll come to your house and
Is it?
Yeah.
I just want to finish off connecting also to Bishvat. Baruch Shalom Ashlag, the son of the Bala Sulam, says that Shabbat we get so much enjoyment that when we work on Friday to prepare for it, it reminds us that the reason for any kind of receiving, the highest level of receiving is receiving in order to give. And by giving of ourselves, so self-sacrifice on Friday of our time, of our physical efforts, of our consciousness, of our focus, it reminds us that all what we're going to receive on Shabbat, the idea is to spread, to use that energy. So that's why I think about Tu B'Shvat when we're eating the fruit and thinking about the trees giving the fruit, lashpia, to spread out the good energy, spread the light, spread the love, and that's the highest level. That's why Hashem created the world as an act of giving, and so an act of giving. And if we're really to emulate that, and certainly Shabbat is a time to enjoy life, or enjoy all the physical pleasures of Shabbat, but to make sure that we're doing the consciousness of giving. So the Baruch Shalom Ashlag says that on Friday when we're preparing for Shabbat is a time to think about that also. That all that we're going to receive on Shabbat, we should be amenat lahashpia, lekabel amenat lahashpia, to spread, to influence. So in some of the Hasidim would say on Rosh Hashanah Leilan, they would say Shana Tova, and they would use the word Shefa. Whatever bracha they would give, they would say it should be a lot of Shefa, it should be a lot of influence in the world, so we shall be blessed with Shefa and spiritual and material and the ability to share what we have with our families, and the sweetness, and the fruits are the sweetest, and they're our fruits, the children are our fruits, so we should be able to give over to them and really with metikut, with real sweet arevut, and so Shabbat Shalom, Shana Tova, Shefa. You know, the source of all Shefa is the same. So in Shabbat we go back to the root of all Shefa, whether it's food or drink or family time, laughter, jokes, whatever it is. The source of all of our pleasures has the same unified point, and when we get to that point, we can bring down a lot more. So hopefully we'll be able to do that.
You said לקבל על מנת להשפיע, אבל שפע זה תוך שורש מלהשפיע.
בדיוק. Yeah. You can't be mashpia if you don't receive, right? You don't have anything to share if you're empty. So that should be our thing.
It's a store? I
just forgot one thing. Two things maybe. real brief. The Mesilat Yesharim brings this down. All the rabbis doing all the fun things to get ready for Shabbat. He brings down and he says that this is in the Chalkei Chasidut, and he talks about the Inyan of Shabbat, that what they were doing to honor Shabbat is it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. Two things I wanted to share. He says, "Ma hayahu oseh lefi darko le'adam shu chafetz lechabdo." What would you want somebody to do for you? And that way, and that's how you know what to do for Shabbat. Right? That's the chassid. What is the chassid? Somebody wants to give kindness to somebody else, to chesed to somebody else. So how would you want to be treated? That's how you should treat on Friday. And Rabbi Natan says that the idea of shlichut is having an intermediary, but like what we said, that Rabbi Natan, the Likutei Halachot I sent on the WhatsApp, is so beautiful, from Hilchot Shluchin. I really highly recommend to read it, because he talks about Shabbat being the source, and when we get beyond being just messengers and we connect intimately without even feeling like we're messengers, but we're one, is the essence of Shabbat. And one last story that I wanted to share real briefly. I mentioned the first Babaver. He once went to Lezhensk and he wanted to see the oldest person in town. Maybe they saw the Noam Elimelech. And he found this old lady, 100-year-old lady. He says, "Do you remember Noam Elimelech of Lezhensk?" She says, "Yeah, I used to peel potatoes in the kitchen." And he said, "So what do you remember of him?" He says, "Well, every Friday we'd be peeling potatoes, rushing. And, sometimes you bump elbows with the girl sitting next to me, or somebody speaks harshly to somebody else, or there's like tension in the room. But every Friday the Rebbe would open the door to the kitchen and say, I know the only reason you're working so hard is because people want to come see me and have Shabbat with me, so it's all my fault, all you're doing. Please forgive me for giving you a hard time. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me." And then when he would leave, we would look at each other and we'd like, "Oh, please forgive me if I did anything wrong to you." And we would hug each other. And it was like the forgiveness we can give on Shabbat. And when you're preparing for Shabbat, it's sometimes like, "Don't sweep like that, sweep like this." It could create tension. And the idea is to, at some point on Friday, ask for forgiveness and make a vibe in the house that's one of mercy and that'll spread. You'll see, if you do that with the kids, I think they'll do it with each other eventually. Maybe not right away, but no, I'm serious. When instead of being all manic about the preparations, to do it with a little bit of peace of mind, and at some point, even if you're like going 100 miles an hour, especially these early Shabbatot, which is like, how am I no matter how much I try, I'm always like rushing, and like there's some tension. But try to inject one moment of like Reb Elimelech asking for forgiveness, and see Yom Kippur vibe in the house. Chaim. This is perfect.
Those are perfect.
Yeah, I have a couple lines somewhere.